The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Okay, it was February 1961. An 18-year-old girl from Kansas named Ann Dunham got married against her parents' wishes. She got married to a Kenyan man 5 years older than she was. Their marriage took place on the island of Maui in Hawaii and was 3 months pregnant at the time of the wedding. Sometime between the wedding and when her child was actually born, in that 6-month window, Ann Dunham, while quite pregnant and only 18 years old, decided to fly halfway around the world to Kenya in order to give birth to the couple's son there. The plan this young couple was hatching at the time was that their baby, this terror baby, if you will, would become the president of the United States in about 50 years. Why give birth to him then in Kenya instead of just staying in Hawaii? I don't know, and you don't either. But they had to know in advance that he was going to run for president 50 years later, because within days of giving birth to him in Kenya, the 18-year-old Ann Dunham, or perhaps one of her co-conspirators, paid a newspaper in Hawaii, the Honolulu Advertiser, to run this false birth announcement saying that Dunham's son was not born in Kenya, which of course he was, but rather he was born in Honolulu. Now, you don't have to be born in the United States to be a governor or a senator or any other thing. It's just president. So Ann Dunham, 18 years old, or her co-conspirators, they knew in 1961 that this baby would specifically be president one day, which is why they had to pay for the fraudulent birth announcement in 1961. Knowing he would be president is also presumably why they named him Barack Hussein Obama, so as to arouse no suspicion whatsoever of his maybe foreign-born nature. So now we have a foreign-born, innocuously named president-to-be terror baby, presumably being indoctrinated for his eventual covert ascendance to secret illegitimate leader of the free world, leading to one of the few unanswered questions in this very clear story, which is, over and above the fake birth announcement in the newspaper, who arranged for the fake birth certificate? The fake birth certificate. The fake birth certificate to be put on file in the Department of Health in Hawaii. Was it Barack Obama's 18-year-old mother? His 23-year-old father? Was it some of their unnamed co-conspirators? Could it have been the terror baby himself? The governor of Hawaii at the time was this man, William Francis Quinn. I'm just saying, where was he at the time? As part of their plan to make young Barack look like he was American, which of course he was not, they brought him from Kenya to Hawaii, where they made sure he gained a little weight, sort of becomes a husky boy for a little while. That looks more American. Then he gets put through American-seeming education at places like Occidental College, although that one still sounds a little foreign. Also Columbia University and Harvard Law School. And with only the fake birth announcement and the forged birth certificate to go by, the American public eventually stumbles into allowing a secret foreign Kenyan terror baby to run for president of the United States. And now, 50 years later exactly, maybe, the plan has worked. I think there are a few different varieties of that story, but broadly speaking, that is the story. That is the theory to which 13 members of Congress, 13 elected members of Congress, have signed on to. They were the co-signers of the birther bill to demand birth certificates, and not like that probably forged one, from anyone running for president, like, say, a certain someone who will have to run for re-election next year. So we as a country don't get duped again.
So you believe the president is a U.S. citizen?
I don't know. I've never seen him produce documents that would say one way or the other.
You think he's an American citizen and a Christian? You're not saying.
I'm not going to get involved in that. What I'm talking about.
You can't say that he's an American citizen.
Well,
you can't say the president's an American citizen.
I don't know.
What is your position on Barack Obama if he is in fact a Kenyan-born Indonesian Muslim?
He himself raises the greatest questions. I think that those questions need to be asked.
My question is, do you believe that this president was born in America? Because I have not seen enough evidence to say that he is an American citizen. And do you believe he is a Muslim?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Is he a citizen? I don't know. There's this other theory which seems so plausible. It's that theory, the whole like flying to Kenya to give birth to the baby and then the fake announcement and then the It's that theory that led Republican lawmakers in at least 10 states across the country to introduce birther bills requiring more birth certificate proof before anybody allows another terror baby onto the ballot in any of those great states. Republicans in Arizona went so far as to actually pass their bill. It was later vetoed by Arizona's governor, Jan Brewer. You know, come to think of it, where was Jan Brewer in 1961? Even Republicans laying the groundwork for a presidential run for 2012 ran with the birth certificate conspiracy theory right from the get-go.
Look, this is the easiest problem to solve. All the president has to do is show it. All I'm saying is there's only one person who can attest to the authenticity, and that's the clerk of court in the county where he was born.
Let's all line up to go talk to the clerk of court. One presidential run this year actually seemed to be based entirely on the Kenya conspiracy theory as its whole platform.
Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? And you know what? I wish he would, because I think it's a terrible pall that's hanging over him. He should show his birth certificate. If you are going to be the president of the United States, you have to be born in this country. And there is a doubt as to whether or not he was born. Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? Why has he spent over $2 million in legal fees to keep this quiet and to keep this silent?
As that TV celebrity real estate developer fake presidential run based on the presidential birth certificate conspiracy theory occluded all other news in America earlier this year, the White House decided to just end all of that by releasing further duplicative documentation that he wasn't secretly moved from Kenya as an infant to obscure the true inexplicable conspiracy of his birth.
No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac? Michelle Bachmann is here, though, I understand. And she is thinking about running for president, which is weird because I hear she was born in Canada. Yes, Michelle, this is how it starts.
That was the White House Correspondents' Dinner earlier this year. And while those jokes at Michelle Bachmann and Donald Trump's expense were sort of devastating, what was really the most devastating thing about that whole time in American politics was the fact that while the president was taking that hide off of Donald Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, at that very moment, in time, what was he also doing? He was also killing Osama bin Laden. So yeah, this whole thing is over. It's just the dead enders now. The website WorldNet Daily, you may remember their Where's the Birth Certificate merchandise page? They made a ton of money off of this conspiracy theory, marketing it to gullible conservatives. They have now had to revise all of their merchandise, so it now says, where's the real birth certificate? They're still trying to eke a few bucks out of this thing. You may also remember old Orly Tates, the Queen birther. Orly Tates still trying to make a go of it as well. Dave Weigel reporting at Slate.com today that Ms. Tates is now asking her followers for, quote, information about Hawaiians or leftists who, in theory, could have aided the Obama parents in a massive conspiracy. So, yeah, in other words, it's over. I will say, I thought at the time when President Obama released the second form of the birth certificate that would not put this thing to rest, that it wasn't fact-based and giving more facts wouldn't help. But it did put it to rest. I was wrong. It put it to rest. On the president's 50th birthday today, it is now just the dead enders and the profiteers at this point still flogging this thing. There is nobody who has any pull at all in conservative politics or in Republican politics at all who is Seriously? Are you sure this is not from last? This is this week. This is from yesterday. Okay, play it.
Tomorrow is Obama's birthday. Not that we've seen any proof of that. We haven't seen any proof of that. They tell us August 4th is the birthday. We haven't seen any proof of it. Sorry.
Sorry. Apparently it's not over. Joining us now is David Corn, Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones and an MSNBC political analyst. David, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Good to be with you, Rachel, and happy birthday, Mr. President.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. Rush Limbaugh is still a birther? Isn't birtherism over now?
Well, you know, I do think that birtherism is over. I think you put it well a few moments ago when you said it was really relegated to this realm of dead-enders and people who just are, you know, one step away from Area 51, Roswell conspiracy theorists, or even maybe one step beyond. But, you know, the interesting thing to me is while birtherism is dead, otherism isn't dead. And you see in the Republican presidential field, you see other conservatives, and they're still out there trying to promote the notion that Obama is really not quite American, which is a more subtle version of birtherism, and I think in some ways more insidious. And if you want examples, I can give you some.
Tell me some examples. Otherism, go.
Okay, Mitt Romney, when he was talking about health care a couple months ago, actually May, after the long-form birth certificate came out, and he said that he didn't question Obama's citizenship, what did he say? He said, I'm going to read this here, the Obama administration fundamentally does not believe in the American experiment. It doesn't believe in the American experiment. Sarah Palin, just this week, said that American ideals are foreign to Barack Obama. They're foreign. He doesn't believe in America either. And today, you played Rush yesterday, but today, what did he do? He compared Barack Obama to Robert Mugabe, the dictator leader, thug corrupt leader of Zimbabwe, and he said Mugabe is his new role model. And why? Because Mugabe took away white people's farms. Now, that's like racism, otherism, birtherism, you know, the Kenya-Africa connection, all rolled into one soundbite. I don't know how he does it.
Do you foresee a 2012 election campaign in which we get more of the Obama is a Muslim stuff, in which we get more of the completely unveiled racist attacks on the president, like some of the stuff that we saw late breaking in the 2008 campaign? Or do you think that the death of birtherism actually takes some of that away, since so much of that stuff was channeled into birtherism? Do you think this stuff going to be just as bad?
I think you're going to see it in the Republican primary, because the general public, independents, moderates, the people they're going to be playing to in the general election don't care about this and really don't, you know, aren't susceptible, I think, to these type of arguments. But in the Republican field, you have voters in the electorate, the GOP electorate, who still want to bash Obama as some sort of foreign subversive element who's trying to turn America into a Muslim socialist country. I don't know, it's kind of confusing to me too. But and so candidates who want to get those votes, Republican candidates, are going to have to play to those fears and paranoid sentiments. And that's what I think you've seen with Mitt Romney, Michelle Bachmann, and others. And they're going to find other ways of doing that in the months ahead to get that nomination.
David Corn, MSNBC political analyst and Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones. David, thank you for dipping into this madness with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel.
Lester. Thank you very much. First sentence. WorldNet Daily's correspondent, Dr. Jerome Corsi, reports that in the U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia, a lawsuit has been filed by investigators in Ohio and Colorado concerning the president's Social Security number. Second sentence. Birth certificate? He reports, no, I did not bring up the birth certificate. He reports that investigators Susan Daniels and John Sampson are asking why the president is using a Social Security number reserved for Connecticut applicants. And my question, do you know...
That's two sentences, Lester.
Two sentences, and my question, do you know of any record that the president ever had a mailing address in Connecticut?
Lester, I know there are faithful readers of your publication that, despite...
Including you.
Well, I don't know that I would necessarily mark myself down as an avid reader or a faithful reader. I continue to be amazed, Lester, that 2 years after putting the president's birth certificate on the internet...
without a hospital and without a doctor...
Do you think the president was born here, Lester?
Beg pardon?
Do you think the president was born in the United States?
I don't know. I'd love to get the real birth certificate, wouldn't you?
I've seen the real birth certificate. I put it on the internet, and I appreciate your forthrightness on the birth answer.
Thank you.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.